Karen ripped up my dad's war wedding photo. She didn't know he's the sheriff. There are some lines you don't cross, not in this lifetime. Not in any decent society. Karen crossed that line with both feet and a sneer on her face. But she didn't know the man whose memory she shattered was the sheriff who swore in half this town and who still, to this day, wakes up at 4:30 a.m. out of habit from his service years. Dad retired from active duty in 1986, but he never really left the force. He served 2 tours in Korea, then came home to serve 3 decades in our county sheriff's office. Even after retirement, folks still called him Sheriff Miller out of respect. He walked with a cane now, but he still held his spine straight like a soldier and his voice firm like a man who built the bones of a town with grit and long hours. I moved back home to take care of him after Mom passed. We converted the front room into his living space, and every morning he'd sit on the porch with coffee and a folded newspaper, same routine, same calm. One of his treasures was a photo, old sepia, curled at the corners of him and Mom on their wedding day. He was in uniform. She wore lace and pearls. They kissed under the oak tree at the VFW hall where they met. It sat in a frame next to his rocker, never moved. Sacred. Then came Karen. Karen Fields, self-declared HOA president of a neighborhood that legally had no HOA. Her title was as fake as the fines she printed from her home office. The week she moved in, she left a typed note in our mailbox. Please be advised, outdoor memorabilia, religious symbols, and visible personal photos must comply with our new community aesthetic guidelines. It wasn't even signed. I tossed it, but she didn't stop. She began circling the house during her jogs, making passive comments about clutter and overly patriotic decor. Once, she even asked if the flag on our pole was necessary year-round. Dad ignored her. I gave her one warning. It escalated on a Tuesday morning. I'd stepped out to grab a delivery when I heard raised voices and then glass breaking. I turned the corner and froze. There she was inside our porch, holding the shattered frame in one hand and half of my parents' wedding photo in the other. "I've warned you people," she snapped. "This kind of outdated propaganda doesn't belong on shared-facing properties." Dad stood still, hand trembling, a thin line of red dripping from where broken glass had sliced his palm. She hadn't just entered uninvited. She hadn't just destroyed a photo. She ripped through his whole past. I saw red. "You get off this porch right now before you find out what trespassing actually means." "You don't scare me, I'm not trying to." "But he might." That's when Dad, still bleeding, pulled himself up, stared her dead in the eye, and said in the calmest voice I've ever heard, "Ma'am, you've just vandalized private property, entered my home unlawfully, and destroyed a military heirloom. And you've done it to the elected sheriff of this county." Karen blinked. For the first time, silence. Then she scoffed. "You're bluffing." She wasn't even out the gate before 2 squad cars pulled up. Not because we called them, because the porch cam had live-streamed the entire incident to the department's private server standard protocol from Dad's old days. The sergeant recognized the porch, saw Karen cross the line, and dispatched immediately. We pressed charges: criminal trespass, destruction of property, violation of privacy. Her defense: she was preserving community standards, but no one bought it. The courtroom was packed, not just with our neighbors, with deputies, veterans, the mayor, even folks Dad once helped pull out of wrecks or walked home from protests. Karen tried to spin it, but the jury saw the video, saw the photo in tatters, saw the blood on my father's hand. They ruled in under 20 minutes. She was fined $7,500 in civil damages and ordered to issue a public apology at the next city council meeting. When she showed up, no one clapped. She read it off a piece of paper, face tight, voice cold. Then someone I still don't know who stood from the crowd and placed a replica of the photo on the podium. Newly restored, professionally reprinted. And someone else whispered, "You don't get to rewrite our history." Karen. She moved out the following month, left behind a house she couldn't sell without slashing the price. The realtor even disclosed public incident history to be safe. But the neighborhood, it came back stronger. We held a porch front veterans memorial that fall. Dad spoke briefly, not about the photo, but about forgiveness, and how the loudest people often feel the most unseen. And the city passed a new ordinance. No enforcement authority may be claimed without active charter or vote. They called it the Miller Clause. Dad keeps the new photo right where the old one was. He says it feels like the frame's heavier now, not just with memory, but with meaning. So here's my question to you. What would you do if someone tried to erase your family's legacy in the name of rules? When does neighborhood order become personal tyranny? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about justice, history, and who we become when we forget where we came from.